So we had the big Nvidia event today, announcing the new Turing lineup of gaming graphics cards. Understandably, since it's been almost 2.5 years since the 1000 series or Pascal came out, expectations were high. And after having to endure almost 2 hours of Jensen Huang bragging about lighting on his usual black coat and claiming it's 10 times faster than last generation, here are the facts. Turing is, at the same time, a surprise and a disappointment. Of course, ray tracing is the big news, the big buzzword Nvidia is targeting with this release. Really quickly, what it does is rendering light in a much more realistic way, helping every object cast its own shadows and reflections in a way that hadn't been possible on computer-generated graphics until now. So I agree, this is impressive and a good leap forward technology-wise, which is precisely what these companies should be doing. But that doesn't stop it from being a gimmick, since it will take a while until it catches on and all hardware is able to do it. Because this is the thing, as far as we know, these features are only available to the RTX cards, the 2070, the 2080 and the 2080 Ti. Hardware is expensive and the majority of users actually use mid-range GPUs. All rumors thus far point at lower-end cards such as 2060 or the 2050 being labeled as good old GTX and having none of these ray tracing capabilities. This grave situation requires a bit of context. The most popular graphics card according to the Steam survey charts is the GTX 1060, a $249 MSRP card, and the previous king was the 970, which launched at around $330. People who buy really high-end stuff are in the minority, and by essentially making this technology hidden behind a paywall, you're excluding most of your customers from your big innovation. The RTX tech in games is worrisome as well, since in the conference itself we've seen effects activated in various upcoming games, such as Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Battlefield 5 or Metro Exodus, which obviously will come with its own GameWorks implementation, and will tank performance heavily in both AMD's GPUs and Nvidia's own cards that are not RTX. And you can argue, hey, I can disable these settings and be done with it, yes, but that doesn't change the fact that Nvidia is showing the middle finger to you for trusting them in the past, while also excluding the competition. That actually is a really anti-technology practice. If you truly believe in the technology your engineers have spent years building and love PC gaming, you should make it an open standard, or at the very least make it available to all users that get a card from the 20 series. But wait, it gets worse. And thus we come to pricing, and this is getting ridiculous. The RTX 2070, probably the most popular and important of the current lineup, has an MSRP of $599 on its Founders Edition, and $499 for the custom model still to come. To put this on context, GTX 770 was $399 at launch, $329 for the 970 and $379 for the 1070, although the Founders Edition was $449 and it inflated price heavily. So what we've been seeing is a slow but steady incline on mid-range GPU pricing, but $599? This is almost double of what a 970 would run you when it came out almost 4 years ago. The 2080 gets a similar treatment, with a $799 FE MSRP and $699 for the customs. Again, the 980 was $549, the 1080 was $599 with a $699 Founders Edition, and now $799. The actual specs on the card aren't close enough to justifying this insane price increase. So what about the 2080 Ti, the flagship badass card? $1,200 Founders Edition, 10 XP pricing right there, with a supposed $999 MSRP eventually? So what happens if I go to some of the stores of my country, Spain, to pre-order all of these? All custom models are between 1200 and 1300 euros, so you can see right there that the actual price that is used as reference is the Founders Editions. The same thing happened with Pascal, but these prices are a lot worse. This is what happens when a company gets a near monopoly in the market and has a completely loyal fanbase. You get to charge wherever you want for your products. Nvidia has effectively become to the graphics market what Apple is to the computer and smartphone markets.
Right side down, left side down, just a little lower, now you're underground.
And before you write me off as some sort of an Nvidia hater, I have been using and loving my high-end GTX cards for years. Right now, in fact, I'm writing and editing this video with an aftermarket 1080 Ti, which costed me a whopping 800 euros. But I actually think the 1080 Ti was worth the asking price for the specs it packed. If we were to compare it to the 2080 Ti, comparing MSRPs here, we have to pay 43% more for the GPU. And using the Founders Edition pricing, which is the only one you can buy right now, that becomes an astounding 71.5% more expensive than a 1080 Ti. In my case, it would be a 57% increase in price to get the cheapest custom 2080 Ti that I've found, which by the way is a lower tier model compared to my 1080 Ti. Let's use the 57% since it's a fair average between the two prices exposed earlier, okay? So what specs do you get by paying 57% more? You're getting 21.4% more CUDA cores, from 3584 to 4352, which is disappointing considering Titan V last year had more than 5000, but okay. You're actually getting slightly lower clock speeds, which go to show that the 12nm process isn't that much better than the 16nm one used for Pascal, the same amount of memory, 11GB on the same bus size, 352 bits, but with faster memory at 14 gigabits per second GDDR6, which gets you 616 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth, which is 27.2% higher than the 484 gigabytes per second of the 1080 Ti. Of course, the trump card of the 20 series are the Tensor cores, which are used for ray tracing and other things like AI. And the actual number of them isn't listed or mentioned in any of the material we've got for the GeForce cards, but in this case I'm guessing the same 576 Tensor cores as featured on the Quadro RTX 8000. Maybe I may be guessing wrong, since all of these are actually cut down chips. The 2080 Ti's got 4352 CUDAs to the RTX 8000's 4608. The 2080's got 2944 CUDAs to the RTX 5000's 3072. Of course, the 2070 sees the GT104 chip cut even further to have 2304 CUDA cores. You know what card has 2304 shaders as well? The RX 480, a card that came out 2 years ago with a $199 price tag. Nvidia wants to get 500 to 600 out of you with the 2070. There have been zero mentions of actual gaming performance compared to Pascal on the almost 2-hour presentation. In fact, they ran through the actual cards and pricing during only the last 3 to 4 minutes of it all. All performance metric Gen has been talking about have been about the RT capabilities, how these cards are 5 to 10 times faster rendering this light compared to the 1080 Ti, depending if he was talking about the 2070 or the 2080 Ti. Actually, based on all the leaks and specs we've got, here's how they will perform. The 2070 will slightly outperform the 1080, the 2080 will be very close to the 1080 Ti, losing or winning depending on the scenario, and the 2080 Ti should be roughly 25 to 30% faster than the 1080 Ti. This is absolutely great performance, but does it really justify these prices? Here's the thing though. As much as we can appreciate technology advancing and as sweet as some of the lighting effects shown today are, video games are above all defined by their gameplay. Everyone has different tastes for games, of course, but many of the most popular are actually quite frenetic experiences that require reflexes and fast movement. Do you really think someone playing a match of Battlefield 5 will stop on their tracks and take the time to observe the reflection of distant explosion on the eye of some soldier? You would only watch if Nvidia tells you to watch. And I think I'm going to leave it here, since talking about the specs of each card more in depth and individually would take forever, and time has value. I'll leave lots of links in the description if you want to read more, which you should. In all honesty, I just want all of us to enjoy PC gaming. a platform known for its customizability and openness. Now Nvidia wants to take that away from you, turning the lights off for most users and forcing enthusiasts to pay substantially more than they did just a year or two ago. After seeing this, personally, I'm absolutely switching to AMD whenever the 7nm GPUs drop. In situations like this, remember, we always have the power to vote with our wallets.